Yeah, and thank you, Wayne, for inviting me and having me on here. This is I'm excited to talk with everybody today. So my name is Travis Howell, and I've been in the industry since 2011. That's when I started working with Dan Fleck at HL Flake. I had previously worked for Dan in his skateboard distribution business, but came to work for him at HL Flake as the marketing manager, and had been there all the way through until Banner Solutions acquired HL Flake, and was with Banner Solutions until just a few months ago, when I made the decision to go out and start my own ventures.
Cool.
Also, about a year and a half ago, I got my locksmith license and began, just really enjoyed what I had previously learned about programming keys, and saw an opportunity to, make some extra money, as well as really dig in and learn, walk a mile in the locksmith's shoes. So that has been a great experience. So now I have a locksmith business, a local automotive locksmith in San Diego. And I've started a company called Space and Depth, which is an agency. And I'm specifically focused on doing advertising, content for advertising, and also developing e-commerce tools for locksmiths.
That's great, Travis. I remember we've worked together for a long time. We've taught at the Banner events, and the HL Flake events, and I think there was a Security Pro for a second. There was a lot of different movement going on over there, but definitely had a lot of good times in Houston, and had a lot of good times with you. You're one of the most organized people that I know. You put on those events. All of those events were successful, and some of the best events in the industry. I've always been told that, those events really roll out the red carpet for the locksmith. And I think that you had a tremendous amount to do with that. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for the opportunity. And now we've got a different opportunity here.
It was a fun time. Definitely.
Yeah. Go ahead and tell us about the slideshow that you have prepared for us today.
Yeah, Dan really knew how to throw an event. And so using his model for many years, that we created some fun, successful training events and trade shows. Before we jump in here, I just want to briefly share, when I mentioned e-commerce tools for locksmiths, this is the first thing that I've been working on. So I want to share this really quickly. As an automotive locksmith, I've quickly learned how tedious it is quoting keys for customers, and have developed a Shopify site where my customers can go and look up their own year, make, model, and see the price for a key. And the idea is I'm developing this for my own business, but I'm going to make it available for any locksmith that wants to take this and add this to their own website. So once they search and look up their year, make, model, I'm giving them as simple of a return of keys as possible.
Okay, great.
And it's moving slow. My computer is moving slow.
Yeah, we do have a little bit of a delay. Definitely.
So yeah, as simple, as few options as possible.
But we're going to work through that
as easy for them to find what they're looking for. You're shown the aftermarket keys first. Is there a delay?
There is a little delay, but we'll just work right through it. Go right ahead.
So the option to look at both OEM or aftermarket is what I'm building out here. So if this is something of interest to you, this is the type of projects that I'm working on in my new business.
Very cool. And so how did you stumble into the marketing aspect of it?
Ask that question again, Wayne. It was cutting
How
out.
did you get into the marketing aspect of this? How did your business, how did you start? Like, did you figure out the marketing based off of a need to advertise your own business, or did you already have a marketing background and you just applied it to the new business?
Yeah. So the whole time that I've worked for HL Flake or Banner, I've been in a marketing role. I guess I failed to mention that. So yeah, I've been, whether it was catalogs for many years for HL Flake, which then moved to, more of a digital-based website marketing in more recent years. I've been in a marketing role and kind of think from a marketing aspect as I approach really anything in business. So that's what's led me to where I'm at today.
Okay, great. Well, let's jump right into this slideshow here and let's see what you've got put together so that so that our audience can learn some of the things that you've learned, and we can take those decades that you've had to learn about marketing, all the way from the days of paper and flyers to the digital era to the social media era. Let's compress that down into this hour or so here and see what you have to offer.
Okay, great. So every opportunity I've had over the last few years, when I go to trade shows or when I get to talk to locksmiths, my favorite question to ask is, how do you advertise? And what I've heard from locksmiths over and over is, well, when I have advertised, I've spent some money on Google. That's far and away the answer that I get most of the time. And the reason that I wanted to do this presentation is there's a big opportunity out there to reach many more customers, to bring more customers to your business. And that's why I've titled this Go Beyond Search, because most locksmiths, when it comes to advertising their business or their marketing strategy, it's primarily based around search. And that is primary. I mean, in our business, I'm not suggesting that you should go and abandon search and only do awareness advertising, but there's a big opportunity if you make awareness a part of your strategy.
It's
we'll get
almost
into
like
that. So the difference between search versus awareness.
it's almost like instead of putting all of those eggs in one basket, being Google, you kind of start allocating over a wider frame and a wider stance of things, so that if your Google listing goes down, you have a backup plan. You've got Facebook, Instagram, all the other social platforms, TikTok, and then you also have the marketing campaigns that you've come up with that basically, like a Google ad, if you place your ad with Google, it will place their ads on other affiliate sites and other partner sites. You've basically figured out how to do that as well, so that you can target audience. So when somebody who says that they looked for a key or were interested in getting a spare key, either they just got locked out of their vehicle or something happened, and they've already got some interest, you can get your ad or your client's ad in front of that warm lead. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Yep. Sorry. Yeah, sorry, I'm experiencing a delay on my side. So this is what we're going to walk through today. Basically, the agenda for today's session is why you should advertise. We're going to spend a few slides just impressing upon you why you should advertise and not just search ads. And then we'll move to talk about the digital marketing landscape. What are the different options out there for advertising? And then we'll talk about the benefits of targeting, tracking, and then being able to retarget people using digital marketing. And we'll start with, we're going to look at Facebook. That's the best place to start. And I'll show you some just step-by-step how to do the basics of getting ads set up and launched and running. And then both Wayne and I are going to share some real examples of what we've done with the results of what we've seen. So let's go ahead and jump in to why you should advertise. So this is going to get into a little bit of the psychology around the purchase process and kind of what is the thought process that people go through really when they're buying anything. And so at the top of this illustration, this mass of people is really meant to illustrate kind of your potential customers. So your entire community that you serve. And then the funnel here on the right side basically shows that as you move through it, there's a much smaller percentage of people who actually make a purchase from you at the bottom. And then this is the thought process that they go through, which then leads to action and ultimately leads to purchase. But it doesn't always happen in just this one straight line where they go down. They may go several steps down this funnel and then exit the funnel and then come back around later. So it's, but this helps us just to think about what the customer goes through when they're buying really any product. So I thought it would be good just to pick an example to walk through, and maybe just a basic residential deadbolt is a good one. So if you have a residential customer that realizes, okay, I'm carrying around multiple keys because I have, multiple deadbolts on my residence that aren't on the same key, I want to get that fixed. I want to get new deadbolts. So they become aware of the issue and they're giving it some thought. They're interested in figuring out, how do I fix this issue? So maybe the next time they're at the hardware store, they're looking down the aisle at the different residential deadbolts. And then they realize, well, if I do it myself, I'm still going to end up with multiple keys and these deadbolts may not be matching. So their next step is at this point is when they're going to go out and actually start to search. Went too far. So it's really at this consideration intent stage is where they're going to take action. So they're actually going out and looking for a solution for the issue that they have. So if your marketing strategy is based primarily around search, they're not becoming aware of you as a provider for this solution until much further down this funnel. And so there's just fewer customers that are going to find you. But the thing about these customers is they do have very strong intent, meaning their intention at this point is, I'm going to find a solution. I'm going to buy something. And so your listings on Google and other search platforms is where at the evaluation stage, they're going to try to pick, okay, which provider am I going to work with? And if your advertising is only search, this is the first time they've seen you. And then they'll pick from the different providers and ultimately make a purchase. So what I'm suggesting here is if you do advertising that is awareness advertising, you're going to reach people much higher up in the funnel. And so by the time they get to that evaluation stage, they're familiar with your business. Maybe they've seen some of the ads that you've put out or some of the video content that you've made and paid to have put in front of them. So that's one aspect. And the other one is your awareness advertising can actually reach out into your community and cast a net and pull more people into this funnel because you may be making of an issue that they haven't, they hadn't really thought about it. In that example of a deadbolt, there's certainly more people out there in the community that are just like the guy who realized he has multiple keys and he'd like to get that fixed.
Right. So you've got your typical sales funnel going here, and you're basically you're identifying every single person and every single step along that way to get the person to come down to the ultimate goal is to get them to purchase. And then when you do get them to purchase, it's to maximize that purchase as well. And so you want to utilize things that people have heard of before. Some of my business classes and business coaching involves talking about people need to see or hear about a person, product, or service 7 to 13 times before they're actually willing to buy, because there's so many scams out there, because there's so many things out there that can trap them and take their money and maybe not produce the outcome that they wanted. So they want to really make sure, do I know this person? Am I familiar with them? Do they actually represent what I want them to represent? And is their product or service going to really solve my problem in exchange for my hard-earned money? Correct?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And you and Lewis touched on this in the session that you did about SEO, that, Google says that the average number of times a customer sees your business before they make a purchase decision is 7. So that's important to know. And, you just need to be able to give people the opportunity to see your business in other places besides when they go search.
Exactly. And that's where the social media, that's where I really like the social media aspect. I
So
call it
let's look
drip
at that.
feed. If
Go
you
ahead.
just 1 sec here, I call it drip feed advertising, to where I'm not spending a lot of money, but I'm spending just a couple dollars a day on a few ads in my local market so that people can keep seeing my face, they keep seeing my truck, they keep seeing my brand. And that way, when it does come time to purchase and they do need something, when they really need my service, they've already seen me that 7 to 13 times in the feed beforehand, and now they're comfortable making the purchase. So continue with your presentation, please.
Right. So let's look at this just in another way and talk about what is the customer's motivation when they go to buy, specifically to, the solutions that we offer. So on the need to have side, there's situations where somebody is absolutely going to go out and take action, and probably pretty quickly. And that's when, they're locked out of either their house or their car, they've lost their keys, they have a broken key, or there's hardware that's broken and, doors can't be closed or locked. Or even if somebody loses a combination on a safe. Those are examples of need to have issues. So they're going to go and take action and search for that solution. Then there's also a lot of customers, many people that are on the right side, on the nice to have. And whether that's, they would like to get a spare key, or they'd like to upgrade the lock functionality, or, the example of the residential deadbolt, that person can still use their keys. It would just be nice to have all matching hardware with all keyed alike. So that on that nice to have side, you do have the proactive people that are going to go and take action and search. But many of these people just aren't going to do anything. They're just going to continue to go about their day, and it's not a big enough issue that they're going to take action. And looking at this, kind of breaking it down to what is the motivation? Again, it's necessity on the left side that's causing them to take action. On the right side, it's really peace of mind that we can be offering to our customers on the nice to have side, or it's convenience, or it's increased security. And if they're one of the proactive people, they are going to take action, but many people are not. And so that's where it's up to us as the business. We have to take action and reach out to them to grow awareness of the solutions that we provide to them. So all of that to, just kind of break down why we should advertise before people come to us, why we should go beyond search to reach more people.
Absolutely. And that's how a lot of people get caught up with these scams and these scam locksmiths. This is how they stay in business. They advertise the cheapest price because people go online. What do they want? I want to solve my problem. When do I want to solve it? I want to solve it now. How do I want to solve it for as little money as possible? Mm-hmm. So this way, that's how people get trapped, and they get trapped into that $19.99 price tag, or that $15.99, or whatever it is. And then they end up getting scammed. They end up having a poor person, a non-qualified technician show up. They do poor, shoddy work, and then they charge a ludicrous amount of money, $600, $700, $800, $900. They encourage people to go get cash from the ATM. That is the definition of a scam. Therefore, they're much more likely to purchase from somebody if they've seen your vehicle driving around in town, if they've driven by your shop and seen a sign that gives some legitimacy to your building, if they've seen your ads coming through, whether it's just a random post that you help somebody in the community get into their car, or whether it's an actual ad that's selling them a security system, cameras, high security upgrade, deadbolts, whatever that purchase may be, they now know that they have some familiarity with your brand and your business. And what you're saying is making sure that you have that connection and putting yourself in front of them before they make the purchase encourages them to make the purchase with your brand because they've seen you before, correct?
Right. Correct. Yeah. And even if you have those assets such as a branded vehicle or a storefront, those are great assets to use in your marketing, in your advertising to reach people so that they see it, even if they're not, they never pass by your store on their regular driving route. But you can use pictures from your store and show people, that you do have an actual storefront, or show people your branded vehicles through the low cost per impression advertising. Absolutely. So still on the topic of why you should advertise, I want to look at a few numbers here, because there are some numbers that we can look at to understand how many people are searching versus what is the size of the total market. And I've been obviously very focused on the automotive side, so have dug in and done some research on this that I'm happy and excited to share with you guys. So I looked at using a tool called SEMrush. I looked to see how many people are searching for lost car keys. And this is looking at the month of June of this year. It shows that there were just right about 50,000 people who searched a form of lost car keys. And there were over 3,000 different variations of how they searched lost car keys. Similarly, there were about 10,000 people that asked the same, or they're looking for the same thing, but they phrased it as a question. Like, what do I do if I lost my keys? So I took both of those numbers, it's about 60,000, and just averaged it out for a year. So multiplied it by 12. So 720 annual searches around this topic. Then on spare keys, similarly, there were 21 people who used the keyword spare car key or a derivative of that, 7,000 people that asked the question. So annualize it, about 300,000. So all told, a little over 1 million people searched around this topic. And there's likely some more that used, other keywords that didn't fall into this lookup. So, but just roughly around 1 million. So I've conducted a survey of the general public to try to get an idea of the estimated market size. So these numbers are just they're statistics. They're not, it's not like an exact number. And there's a margin of error here that's about 5% based on the number of respondents. So we know that there are 290 million registered vehicles in the US. And from the survey, 19% of people said that they have had emergency service related to their key in the past 12 months, which is, it's a huge number. I was actually surprised to see it this high. So the way this question was asked was, in the past 12 months, have you had a situation where your key was either lost, broken, or locked in the vehicle? And they had the option where they could choose lost, broken, locked in the vehicle, or none of the above. And yeah, 19%, so that would be 55 million people who had an emergency situation. So on the other side, 16% of people, roughly 1 out of 6, said that they only had one key for their vehicle. These numbers are huge. They're bigger than I would have thought. And so the next question, kind of the most important question in this survey that I wanted to know was, so the way it was asked is, if you needed to have a key made for your vehicle, what would you do? And it was just an open-ended response box where they had to type it out. And then I took those responses and categorized them. So if somebody said, I'm going to take my truck to the Ford dealership, I just tagged as dealership. And so this is what the results from that question look like. So far and away, people said dealership. And I was actually it was this stark of a difference. There were quite a few people who had just a vague answer, like I would get it made or I'd get it done. And then Google, people said I'd go to Google, and then Locksmith was about 5% of the total responses where they either said locksmith or lock shop. So I believe what this says is there's just a lot of opportunity because the dealership does not do a good job of servicing people with their keys. And most people, what I kept hearing from customers is, I called the dealership and the price was way too high. And so I just didn't get it made for quite a while until I saw your ad. That story kept happening, which is why I really wanted to do this survey.
Yeah.
So all of this to just show,
this is a great
this is why
survey
you
here.
should advertise.
Right. And so what you're doing is, and this was very surprising for me to see too. Basically the chain of command is people think I need a key for my car. I just bought it. I only have one key. Obviously they have an incident where they lock their key in the car, or they have a close call where they think they lose their keys, but then they find them. And then they call the dealership. Dealership's way too expensive. Then they're like, okay, well, that's not really high on my priority list. And then it happens again. And then they're like, boy, I really need to get this taken care of. So then they Google and find some answers. And then it comes up with dealership, locksmith, and all these different things. But I think this is a testament to just different trades starting to disappear and people not even understanding what the trade is anymore. A perfect example would be a blacksmith. Blacksmiths still exist today, and they still do the blacksmith thing. It's an ancient art, and unfortunately, the locksmith is becoming that ancient art. It really is, and the numbers are right here in the search. A lot of people just think that we open cars and rekey locks, and that's it. When really, there's so much to this industry. It's the security industry as a whole. So I really think that this is a good definitive representation of showing that maybe in your marketing strategy, becoming a automotive locksmith or a car key, people that make car keys, or security professional would really start encompassing more of the entire field. What you're saying right here is you've basically built a customer radar detector. And instead of just driving out to the ocean or the lake and dropping a line to put your product on, you're actually using a fish finder system. You're like, hey, all the fish are over here, right? Here's all the fish right here. Here's all the people that searched on this topic for the thing that you have to sell, whether it's a car key, whether it's residential, commercial locksmithing, whether it's security, cameras, home automation, or alarm systems. You found a way to find that fish finder, to find those customers for that specific target audience, and then drop your line and bait in there so that you can put that ad right in front of them, enticing them to call. You're attracting a warm lead versus a dead cold one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're absolutely right that the general public doesn't understand the locksmith trade. And you're right, probably other trades as well. And there's many services that locksmiths provide that we basically need to educate or, reintroduce to the public so that they're aware of the services that locksmiths provide. So, and I'd be curious to know, what other surveys would be good to do for the locksmith industry? Is there other market research that we should be doing? So
I'm betting there's a bunch of it. I'm sure that's probably going to become more of a thing now, is market research for the locksmith industry. And when somebody comes up with that information and starts data harvesting and combining that information into a usable, consumable format, this might be something that Space and Depth actually does. Then you can take that data and you can say, look, here's the data that we've compiled. Now we can sell this to you, and you can actually build an ad yourself, kind of like a do it together, DIY type of thing, which I think you're going to try and and do in the future is show people
Mhm.
how to do some of the things that you do. You offer services to get people's ads and do it for them. So you have two different products that you have, or two different services: do it for, and then do it with the person who's going to do it for themselves, or DIY, which is kind of the point of this whole thing.
Yeah, I do plan on offering both the do-it-yourself, basically some classes so you can learn how to do the advertising yourself. Also, do it with you, which is, we would do it together for several months, and then you could take it from there. Or I'm going to offer, advertising as a service where I could take you on as a client and do your advertising for you. So now I want to jump to talking about what is the digital advertising landscape look like. And still, we're going to differentiate search from awareness. So I'm not saying you shouldn't do any search. You should certainly still participate in search and even do some paid search engine marketing on Google or Google Maps. But what I'm trying to impress upon you is, if you've not stepped into any of the awareness advertising, you should carve out some of your budget and move it over there. And the difference here is, on the search side, you're paying for the click. It's the cost per click. On the awareness side, you're paying for the cost per impression. And the metric that is used here is CPM, which stands for cost per thousand, cost per mille, cost per thousand. And you can find that these are very affordable just to begin running ads on these platforms, especially on the social media, as well as doing display. And one thing to note here on all of these, on the awareness side, they can all be geo-targeted. So, if you're going to run ads on Facebook or even TikTok, you can isolate so that you're only spending money to reach people in your local community. I think that's very important to know. As well as, with YouTube or LinkedIn, you can really isolate who you're going after. So let me jump back over here. And so as far as now, we're just talking about awareness advertising. There's still traditional advertising out there that works well. And in the last few years that I've been asking locksmiths, what do you do for advertising? There have been a handful who have said, when we started doing TV, local TV, cable advertising, as well as radio and billboards, it paid off big time. And so I've had 3 people who are very successful who've said that was a game changer for them. So that is still a very viable option. It's just a much more expensive. You have to have a bigger budget to really jump into that. So on the digital side, there is CTV, which stands for connected TV. So these are platforms like Hulu. Amazon is coming online to begin offering advertising, Netflix. So these are, similar to TV, except that you can buy them just for for specific target audiences. You can get much more granular with the targeting. You can also begin to advertise on podcasts. And then, of course, all the social media platforms. And lastly, on the bottom right here, this I'm sure you're familiar with. As you go around the internet, you see display ads out there. I mean, for me personally, I have UHS ads that follow me all over the place. But these type of ads your brand could be popping up in these type of places, and these are generally very low cost per impression. So this is just another avenue that you could explore.
Great. I like the look at the digital and the traditional advertising. That's always been a controversial to some people. Some people have had really good results on radio and TV, and some people in the locksmith trade and industry have had very dismal results. I guess it depends on what your service really is. If you're thinking that people are going to call you for lockouts and emergency service and emergency rekeys, using billboards or radio or TV, that's probably not going to be the case. That's going to be more along the lines of, hey, I've seen this ad a couple times. Now I have my problem. I'm ready to address that solution to that problem. But they're really not going to go out and be targeted that way. The digital aspect really can do both, right? You can target those ads and you can kind of drip feed those ads. So everything's really headed towards digital. Even the streaming services are technically that they're kind of an old school media, but they're also coming into the digital. So they're kind of a gray area there. So I like that you bring attention to that.
Yeah. So just to kind of talk through, the benefits of digital, which you were just mentioning, with traditional advertising, that budget is less flexible. If you're going to run a TV ad, it's a fairly big investment each time that's displayed. And then you don't really have the same type of targeting options. It's just casting that wide net. And there's no tracking or remarketing. It was the only way to know if it's working is if your phone is just ringing significantly more. On the digital side, it's very flexible. I mean, you can pick all the way down to $2 a day if you want to start there on social media ads. And then the targeting can be very detailed. And the targeting is just getting better and better as AI really kind of takes over the ability to target for you. And we'll talk about that a little bit more when we dive into Facebook. Then there's geofencing, which is you can target based on radius or zip code, or you can even target based on locations. So this is something that I've recently discovered and I'm digging into. I'm going to do a campaign that I'm testing in August where it's to people who visited dealerships. I have a list of dealership addresses. So it's a list of dealerships as well as auto repair stores. So all of the O'Reilly's and Advanced Auto Parts and all of those are already pre-cataloged. And so you can see if people went to those stores and target them. And then the interesting thing is if you do have a brick and mortar, you can track the people that actually, if they saw your ad and then came into your store, that can be tracked. And it's all based on, it's tracking of everyone's mobile device if people are opted into that. And so of course you can filter on age and gender and job titles. And so I kind of skipped over it, but when you're doing ads on social media or YouTube or display, those can also reference what people have. So they may have searched for a lockout in the past or searched for one of your services, and then they'll start to receive ads that are based on their search history. I've seen that in my personal life, and I'm sure you have too.
Right.
And then there's the ability for tracking of as well as click tracking. So if you think about that funnel again, and somebody sees your ad at the top of the funnel at the awareness area, if they click on it, or if they engage, meaning they watch 10 seconds of a video, you can then move those people into a smaller audience where you're going to remarket to them, and you're going to market to them further down the funnel, meaning you could start to send them promotions or special offers to try to move them from interested down to purchased. So by doing that, you can really start to optimize your budget because you're sending promotions just to the people who've already engaged, who are already interested and know who you are. And then you can do some of that through the custom audience building, and which is called remarketing. So any questions around this?
I don't see any questions coming up in the chat feed so far. But I think you're just explaining it very well and showing the
Okay.
difference between the traditional and digital advertising and how we're applying it over to the social aspect.
Yeah. So what I thought we could do now is let's just go over to Facebook and just start to step through how and show you how easy it is to get a first ad launched just from the very basics. So let me switch over here to Facebook. Just going to take just a second. And I apologize if I'm having some technical issues on my end where there's a delay, heavy delay. So if Wayne and I talk over each other a little bit, that's the reason. All right. So obviously a prerequisite here is that you need to have a Facebook page set up. And then you need to have some posts. You need to be taking pictures of jobs that you've completed, or take pictures of yourself with your van. Wayne has examples where he's done videos with customers, basically on the spot testimonials, those are absolutely fabulous content that you can have. And then you're going to take that post. So as I scroll through here, I have quite a few pictures like this where it's spare keys with the vehicle in the background. And you could take any one of these and you click on the boost post button, and that's going to take that post. And the good thing is it's keeping all of the comments that you already have and all the interactions that you may already have. And it's going to carry those through in your advertisement. So it's a good idea to boost your actual posts. So you can click on this. So this is one where I had a customer who we chatted quite a bit while I was making his key, and he mentioned that he's on social media quite a bit. And, so I could tell he was comfortable in front of the camera, and asked him to make a video for me. And so he did. Actually the technical term for this type of video where your customer is talking, you could actually pay people to do this. And if you decide to go that route, you're basically paying someone because they're very charismatic and they're good at talking in front of the camera, and they can really just help to sell your product. So
yeah, it takes a certain type of person, and I definitely, you got to pick and choose. I like to
on my end, which is why I'm having the delay.
Usually somebody younger is somebody who I'll try and pick and target for that. And then again,
mm-hmm. Wayne, did I
go ahead?
Can you hear me, Wayne?
Yeah, you're good. You're still on. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Sorry, that was a heavy delay there that time. Okay. So once you click boost, then it's going to bring up, it's taking the existing text that you already have, and it's going to suggest some alternatives. And it's a good idea. I mean, you can, because what Facebook is wanting to do here is have several options. So you could add these as different options for your text. And it's important to note that the AI is going to do, Facebook's AI is going to do its best to try to target for you. And the way it does that is it's going to take text that you put in here. And so it's good to have some keywords that are very specific about what service you're offering. So, if you're offering spare keys, if the ad is about spare keys, you need to mention that. You need to mention automotive locksmith. You need, have those type of keywords in the text. That helps Google to know what you're selling and who you're looking for. And it's fairly recently that Facebook has kind of made that change to where they're starting to do some of this targeting just for you. And as you go through the setting up the ads, anywhere that you see Advantage Plus mentioned, that's referring to Facebook's AI. But in the Boost Post version, they give you kind of a really trimmed down way of setting up your ads. So as we go through this, you can select where you want the ads to show. It can show in Messenger, Instagram. If you have WhatsApp, you can, this is where you can choose where else it's going to show up. Here's where you can pick your audience details, and this is where you would change your location. So come in here and type in your city, type in your zip code. That is, there we go. Here's where you would type in your location. Just do it by city. And then it will allow you to choose a radius. So you decide kind of based on your population or what what is the service area that you cover. You can select that, and then it tells you the potential number of users here, estimated audience size. And, if you're in the green, it's good to stay in the green unless you're doing something that is very specific. So, I mean, if an ad and it's really targeted towards property managers or real estate agents, you may fall into this very specific category, but if that's what you're looking for, then that's fine. So that's where you would click save on the save audience. So now you're targeting the right area, and then, if you leave this on Advantage Audience, this is where Facebook is going to do the targeting for you based on the keywords that are in your post, as well as kind of the information that's on your page. So that's why it's very important to have in your page description, detail about what your services are. And then you could set up the length here. And actually, I prefer not to put an end date, because one thing to note about Facebook, there are 5 different ways 5 different places you could go on Facebook to set up this ad. You could do it on your phone. You could do it right here in Facebook. You can do it in your business manager. You could also do it in Ads Manager. And in my opinion, Facebook has done a very poor job of having a seamless experience across all of those different places. And so you'll have some functionality on your phone that you won't see if you're on a laptop or desktop. And also, if you go to the Ads Manager, it's a very different experience than what you see if you're building an ad just right here on your Facebook page. But this is the most simple, just kind of a few clicks to get it set up, which is why I'm showing this one first. So you can choose how long you want it to run for. And then here you're going to pick an overall budget. So you want to take the number of days and just divide it by how much you're planning to spend over that whole time period. One thing to note, though, is at any time you can come in here and put these on pause. You can increase your budget. You can make changes. So setting a time frame doesn't mean that that's set in stone. But it's also good that this is a long-term strategy, starting to do this awareness advertising. So the idea that you're going to do an ad for 1 or 2 days and really see results right away is not realistic. This is something that you're going to have to implement over a long period and see the numbers grow, the number of impressions grow. But
I think that's a very, very important point that you're making right there, Travis, is that this has to be on the long term, because if people think that you're going to, hey, I've got $100 and I'm going to spend this $100 and my ad campaign didn't do what I wanted it to, my phone didn't ring, I think that's where people become frustrated with this. And so people really need to understand that it's more of a trial and error process. You're actually putting the ads out, and you need to put many different ads out on the same topic, with different headlines, different images, different pictures. Try still images, try AI generated, content, try some videos, try different strategies. And then what you need to do when you have 30 or 40, quite literally 30 or 40 different ads out and running, then you can see and look at the analytics, and you can start tracking what ads performed well, and then you can start channeling that into there. I mean, think of the old days of advertising with the phone book, right? It was like $10,000-$12,000 to have a full page ad with the phone book, and you had to put all that money up front. So just consider that you take that money, chop it in half, call it $5,000, and this is my social media advertising budget. Now you can put that into $100 here, $200 here, $30 here, $2 a day there. And then after 6 months or so, you can really see how those ads performed. And then you can inject the money in the ones that perform the best. And that's how you get your return on investment. Do you agree?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And we won't have time today to really dive into it, but there are various different types of campaigns that you can run. Some are awareness, some are traffic, some are engagement, and there's a reason to do the different types of campaigns. As Wayne said, it's a long-term strategy. It's not something where it's just you're going to spend a little bit and get something the first day or two. So, real quick, I wanted to jump back. So under that audience setup, this is where I'd skipped over this. This is where you could type in something very specific. You could type in used car. This is one I've run this before when I was in Texas, and saw good results with it. And so it's interesting here that when I do used car, Facebook will start to suggest, oh, come on. Facebook will make a lot of suggestions based on what you've put in, and it's good to go through those and just add as many of those as are relevant. Because again, you don't want to get too specific to where you only have a handful of people that you're reaching. So, and notice it says here, for advanced targeting features, go to Ads Manager. So really, once you start to try to get granular with any of your ads, you're going to be much better off in Ads Manager. But the easy way at first is just to let the AI do the targeting and just set a daily budget, choose your location. I wanted to show that I think has been very valuable, especially if you're working with a small budget. Sorry. All right. Close out of that. Is the messenger, automation component, which used to be right here, and one thing about Facebook is they are constantly changing the way that things work. They're constantly moving, or they're trying to improve basically. But in doing so, your experience is not going to be the same every time you come back to build an ad. So this is where you can start to build out just basic automated questions and responses to your ads. So if your ads are specifically about spare keys, what is the price for a duplicate key? I know I didn't spell all that right. Then you can set up the automated answer when somebody, so this presents them with the option to click on that question. They don't have to type it out. They just click on the question. So please tell me what type of vehicle you have and what zip code you're in, and I'll send you a price quote. That's what I've been using. And I have multiple questions like that they can choose from. And this is where I've seen the most immediate result is having a mix of awareness campaigns and a mix of messenger, where the call to action is for them to click on the ad and go directly to send you a message. And they're presented with these automated questions up front. All right, Wayne, I know we have about 5 minutes left on our 1 hour here. So I thought maybe we could now jump to just kind of looking at some of looking at some of the results.
Yeah, go ahead. And we don't have a hard stop. We were just trying to contain it to about an hour. So yeah, just continue until you've got all of your content and information out.
Okay. Yeah, so let's share this tab instead of the ads that I've been running over the last several months. And you can see, it's the easy route is take pictures while you're out making keys or whatever the service that you're doing pictures, take video, document it. And then these have been very recognizable for people because they know, okay, we're talking about spare car keys because we're showing the 2 keys. Then what I started to do over the past month or so is really dig into the idea of a pain point. So I did some testing around what pain point words resonate the most with customers, and did these where you have a pain point on the top and a solution on the bottom, and ran a test of a series of those where it was just text, and found the winner. And then I've been running this ad where it has, 1 car key is never enough. Get a spare key today with our mobile service. So that was the winner out of the test I did previously about the pain point. So that's kind of a framework that's good to use in learning from your customers. Marketing is a lot of science to it, which is kind of the fun part. Honestly, it's digging into the data and trying to learn what's working and then amplify on that.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely
and then
a flow to it, and the environment changes.
This is just a view of what the
was
auction
working a couple years ago, what worked last year or 5 years ago or 10 years ago doesn't necessarily work now. So the fact that it's changing all the time gives us the opportunity, as long as you're constantly testing and you have a matrix to where you can start seeing and graphing what works. That's why that works. I can't tell you how many times I hear from people, oh, I threw up a Facebook ad and it didn't work. My phone didn't ring. Again, that's not the way that this is designed to work. You just found out one way of how it didn't work. So you need to change your approach a little bit and come up with a better way. And the way that you just sandwiched that, like the pain point sandwich, hey, here's your pain point, here's your problem.
Mhm.
You keep getting locked out of your car. You keep having to have a locksmith come out and unlock your car because you keep locking the keys in there or losing them. That's your pain point. That's what causes you problems. Now, hey, here's the solution. Here's a big image of 2 keys together, meaning obviously that they have 2 keys, a regular and a spare all the time. And then down below, here's your solution. That's the pain point sandwich. And it shows everything that they need. Problem, solution, solution. How do I get it? That's what they need. That's a very great way to market things. Excellent. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I wanted to just kind of show you how the messenger automation conversation starters, how that works in reality. So the good thing about this is it cuts down on the amount of messages that you have to send manually. And really, I personally don't get involved in the message until I already know what the year, make, model is. And hopefully they've already told me their zip code, so I know where they're at. Based on that, I can then send them a quote for this. And this particular one happens to be the refurb with the super chip in it. So that's where that price comes from. And then, this is how I measure, or a lot of times the way I'm interacting on Facebook is through Messenger and selling the keys in the service in this way. So just wanted to introduce that as a concept. Then jumping into results. So this is going a bit back in time, January 1st through May 31st of 2023. So this is when I was just getting started and learning the trade. So over time, my conversion rate has improved just because I've been able to do more vehicles. Or actually, I'll say my conversion rate was improving when I was in Texas. Then I moved to California, where everybody drives a Tesla and a Mercedes and a BMW, and my conversion rates dropped a little bit. So, anyways, so I wanted to share this by the numbers because I love it when anytime somebody shares actual real numbers about how it worked out. And keep in mind, I was doing this as a part-time gig and just learning at the time. So I was spending $10 a day on Facebook. In over this 4-month period, I'm sorry, January through May, this 5-month period, I had 580 Facebook messages, which converted into 128 actual customers. So my cost per message was $2.60, and I had a 20% conversion rate, which means I had a $13 customer acquisition cost, which this was all along. I was trying to get at what is the cost going to be to get a customer? Because once you know that, you know how sustainable is this model, and and then can I use this advertising as really a throttle where I can just increase spend in order to increase the number of leads and number of jobs. And so what I experienced was basically an 8 times return on ad spend. So an 836% return on ad spend during this time period.
So that's kind of like having
which
advertising slot machine, if you will. Every time you put a dollar into your advertising slot machine, just imagine we're at the Aloha convention in Vegas that's coming up next week, and you go ahead and you put a dollar, you found a slot machine that every time you put a dollar in, $8 comes back out, $8 and change. You'd probably sit at that slot machine and play that machine for a long time. And once you found that particular machine, you'd probably can put $10, $100, you put more money into it because you've already defined the result that you're going to get out of it, right? And that's where the sweet spot is. That's what people don't understand. It just took the investment of, $1,500 or a couple $1,000 to actually find that machine and find that sweet spot to where every time you put a dollar in, $8 comes back out, and you can continue to maintain that. That's what it really takes. And that's the customer acquisition cost. These are, if you listen to the lead business guys on the, YouTube or on any of these social media platforms, customer acquisition cost and ROI, return on investment, is all what it's all about. What do I put in? What do I get out? That's really what it all comes down to. And that's the new era of sales and marketing. I'm sorry, but if you're not on this and you're not learning this stuff right now, you're going to be left so far in the dust that you're going to either not be able to catch up, or the other thing that'll happen is you'll have to pay somebody else. So you won't get that 8-to-1 ratio. You'll use another agency and you'll get a 5-to-1 ratio or a 4-to-1 ratio. So learning this and understanding it now is going to be absolutely mandatory in business moving forward, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I mean, just going back to the topic today, this is a way to bring customers in before they're searching for to bring customers in.
Yeah. Very cool.
So, yeah.
Do you have more slides, or? There we go. Cool. All righty. Well, thank you so much,
We
Travis.
ended right at the hour. Yeah. So and if you're interested in what we were talking about today and want to reach out to me to learn more, definitely here's my contact information. I'm working on the automotive site as well as working on a site for space and depth. So at some point I'll have all of what I'm working on in a central space at space-depth.com. But yeah, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to talk.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us
Wayne,
today.
thank you so much for this opportunity.
Absolutely. We really enjoyed you. We had some camera issues and some buffering issues, but I think the content and the raw content is there. And again, people, if you're not getting on this train in understanding this system, you're going to really be at a disadvantage in the very, very near future. These agencies and these media platforms are the largest in the world. Just imagine if 10 or 20 years ago, I told you that you could advertise with Fox and NBC during prime time for a couple of $100. Like, that is the level of intensity that we're at right now. And those old medias they're starting to decline. The TV, the old networks, Netflix is just taking over what the old media used to be. And even things like TikTok. I mean, people are watching their phones while they're watching TV. So you're double consuming, and you have the opportunity to place your ad, your product, and your service and your brand in front of those people during those times when they're ready to buy, before they're ready to buy, and after they're ready to buy too, which is, it's completely groundbreaking what we're doing right here. And you're really going to see that as we move forward. And I really appreciate your wealth of knowledge today, Travis. If there's anything else you'd like to tell anybody out there, just go ahead and let us know now. Thank you so much.
All right. Yeah, no, I think this, thanks for listening. And again, if you have any questions or want to reach out to me, feel free to contact me. And look more, Wayne and I are going to continue to talk more about this topic. So we actually plan to do some longer training sessions on this. So coming soon.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for your time today, Travis. Look for the stuff in the future.
Yeah.
If you see my name and Travis's name put together out there, it's probably going to be that teach you how to do this step-by-step program that'll be coming out next. And then, Travis, if social media is not your game and it's just not something you want to start learning or getting involved in, Travis's company can help you, and they can actually start placing those ads for you so that you can still get into that and get your business in front of these people as well. You can do the same exact thing. So thank you again so much. We'll see you next time. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, everybody, for your time today. We really appreciate you.